Welcome to today's special report. With just a few weeks remaining before leaving the White House, President Joe Biden rushed through a highly controversial decision, delivering a large cache of weapons and authorizing Ukraine to use U.S. long-range weapons to strike Russian territory. This move not only pushes the boundaries of previous military aid policies, but also puts President-elect Donald Trump in a reactive position, forcing him to confront high-stakes repercussions as soon as he steps into office. Amid escalating tensions, with Russia bolstering its troops in Kursk and issuing strong warnings about the risk of direct confrontation with NATO, Biden's decision is further intensifying the situation. Can Trump swiftly resolve this dilemma, or will he face an increasingly complex crisis? Let's delve deeper into this critical issue.
With only weeks remaining before President-elect Donald Trump assumes office, President Joe Biden made an unexpected decision, giving the green light for Ukraine to use American long-range weapons to attack Russian territory. This decision marks a pivotal shift in the U.S.'s military aid approach after months of hesitation due to fears of escalating the conflict. Number 1. Last-minute decision. A turning point in U.S. aid policy. Just weeks before President-elect Donald Trump takes office, President Joe Biden made a surprising and bold decision, allowing Ukraine to use long-range weapons to strike deep into Russian territory. This marks a significant turning point in U.S. military aid policy, which had previously focused on defensive weaponry. The decision comes amid Russia's buildup of around 50,000 troops in Kursk, including North Korean soldiers. This move is not only intended to bolster Ukraine's defensive capabilities, but also to enhance its offensive potential by targeting critical Russian logistics and weapons depots. The provision of HIMARS tactical missiles, with a range of up to 300 kilometers, enables Ukraine to carry out deep strikes into Russian territory, a major shift allowing Kyiv to move from defense to strategic counterattacks. In his remarks, President Biden emphasized, "We cannot stand by while a democratic nation is invaded without acting. Supporting Ukraine is essential to protecting the values we hold dear." Ukrainian Prime Minister Denis Shmyhal also welcomed the decision, stating, "ATAC will be a game-changer, helping us weaken Russia's power and reclaim control." However, the supply of HIMARS missiles is limited. According to Reuters, the U.S. can only provide a small quantity of these weapons due to high production costs and limited stockpiles. This has sparked debates within the Biden administration over the long-term effectiveness of such support. Some analysts argue that while providing advanced weaponry is necessary, Ukraine cannot rely solely on these systems to maintain an advantage in the war. Beyond its strategic value, this decision carries deep political significance. Biden seeks to leave a strong legacy by showcasing America's global leadership role and reaffirming its commitment to democratic values. This is not just a message to Ukraine, but also a powerful signal to Russia and the international community. Biden previously stated, "We are not just supporting Ukraine. We are sending a message to every nation that the U.S. will not stand idle when democratic values are under threat." However, this decision carries significant risks. Russia may view Ukraine's use of U.S.-supplied long-range weapons to strike its territory as a direct provocation, potentially escalating the conflict. Moscow has repeatedly warned it will respond forcefully if its national interests are threatened. Additionally, the risk of a direct confrontation between the U.S. and Russia, both nuclear powers, cannot be ignored. Biden's decision to provide HIMARS missiles to Ukraine not only holds tactical significance in the ongoing conflict, but also shapes America's role in the emerging global order. It is a bold move that offers Ukraine short-term advantages, but comes with significant geopolitical risks. Biden is betting on solidifying America's global leadership role, but only time will tell whether this decision delivers the desired results.
Joe Biden's decision to allow Ukraine to use long-range weapons, such as HIMARS missiles, to strike deep into Russian territory, has not only sent shockwaves internationally, but also ignited a political fuse within the United States. This is not just Biden's final move before leaving office, but also a challenging test for President-elect Donald Trump. How will he tackle this issue? By staying true to his promise to end the war within 24 hours, or by grappling with far more complex realities on the battlefield? 2. Biden's decision sparks a fuse. How will Trump extinguish the fire? Negotiating peace or maintaining a standoff? Trump has previously claimed he would bring both Russia and Ukraine to the negotiating table to end the conflict in one day. However, in the current context, where Russia is under increasing pressure and Ukraine is leveraging long-range weaponry, would Moscow be willing to agree to a deal? Pursuing peace through negotiations might expose Trump to criticism for being too soft on Russia, particularly from domestic critics. Withdrawing support or doubling down. Another option would be reducing military aid to Ukraine to de-escalate tensions. However, this risks fracturing relationships with NATO allies and undermining America's global leadership role. Conversely, if Trump chooses to maintain or even increase support, he faces backlash from domestic voters who favor an America First approach and are wary of high military spending. Rebuilding relations with Russia. Trump, known for his previous amicable stance toward Russia, might seek to restore ties with Moscow. Yet, under the current climate of heightened tensions, aligning closer with Russia could erode support from Western allies and provoke strong opposition from the U.S. Congress, particularly Democrat. Trump's response to this geopolitical and domestic challenge will shape not only his presidency, but also America's role on the global stage. Will he clean up the mess Biden has left, or rewrite the rules to forge a new path forward? Time will tell.
Joe Biden's decision to supply Ukraine with long-range weapons has escalated tensions in the conflict and laid the groundwork for a more complex phase in the relationship between the U.S., Russia, and Ukraine. With Donald Trump preparing to take office, he faces a crisis that extends beyond the battlefield in Ukraine to the realm of international relations and the global geopolitical order.
3. The future of U.S., Russia, and Ukraine relations. The U.S. Pressure from all sides. For the U.S., the decision to continue supporting Ukraine or scaling back intervention is a central issue of debate. If Trump decides to maintain military aid, he risks backlash from America First voters who prefer cutting foreign defense spending to focus on domestic priorities. On the other hand, reducing aid could weaken America's position as a global leader and cause NATO allies to question U.S. commitment to European security. Trump's choice to either uphold or change aid policies will also directly impact negotiations with Russia. While Trump has claimed he could swiftly end the war through talks with Moscow, the current context, where Russia faces mounting pressure from long-range weapon strikes, raises doubts about whether the Kremlin would agree to any terms or escalate its demands to protect its interests. Ukraine, between survival and dependence. Ukraine's future heavily depends on continued support from the U.S. and its Western allies. Should aid decrease, Kyiv may lose the ability to effectively resist, particularly as its internal resources have been severely depleted after months of war. Moreover, reliance on international assistance places Ukraine in a challenging position, balancing the need for ally support while asserting its sovereignty in strategic decisions. Prolonged conflict would further drain Ukraine's economy and manpower, eroding public morale. This leaves President Volodymyr Zelensky with the daunting task of seeking a long-term solution, even if it means compromising with Russia to preserve the nation's survival. Russia, leverage and risks. Russia, strategically positioned in this conflict, could exploit any rift between the U.S. and its allies to strengthen its stance. If the Trump administration reduces support for Ukraine, Moscow would have more room to impose favorable terms in any potential negotiations. However, a prolonged conflict also poses significant risks for Russia, including economic strain from extended sanctions and rising domestic dissatisfaction. The Kremlin has repeatedly warned that supplying Ukraine with long-range weapons crosses a red line, potentially prompting stronger retaliatory measures. Nevertheless, sustained pressure from the U.S. and its allies could force Moscow to consider diplomatic solutions to avoid further depletion of its resources. The relationship between the U.S., Russia, and Ukraine stands at a crossroads. Donald Trump's administration must decide on a path that aligns with his vision, pursuing peace through diplomacy or maintaining military pressure to contain Russia. The answers will not only shape the fate of these three nations, but also deeply influence the global order for decades to come. Time, strategy, and resilience will determine whether U.S., Russia, and Ukraine relations lean toward cooperation or remain entrenched in conflict.
Thank you for joining us on today's report. President Joe Biden's last-minute decision not only heightens tensions in the Russia-Ukraine conflict, but also leaves President-elect Donald Trump with a significant challenge. From his bold promise to end the war in 24 hours, to the complex realities of a defiant Russia, a hopeful Ukraine, and an expectant global audience, Trump must now navigate this intricate political and military scenario. How will Trump respond? Will he stand firm on his commitments or adapt to the challenges Biden's decision has set in motion?
Below are some opposing views from the audience. Stay tuned. What do you think? Share your thoughts in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and stay updated with the latest political news and stories shaking the world. See you in the next videos.